Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm excited for today's video because this is a video that you guys have requested I make for quite a while now. So I'm really glad to be getting it out in front of you. I hope and pray that this video is a blessing to you and that it encourages you to start moving your body. Today's video is all about my workout routine, the ins and outs of what I do, what I don't do, how I fuel my body, all of that kind of stuff. So the first part of the video, I want to start out with a little bit of a background on my upbringing because it's had an enormous effect on why I am so active the way that I am today. And then I want to talk to you guys about the meat and potatoes of what my workout routine looks like now, what I eat, what I don't eat, how often I work out, how often I do cardio, all of that type of stuff. Let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to tell you guys about is my background, kind of my upbringing. For those of you who don't know, I was born and raised in the wonderful state of Colorado. So when I was a kid, we didn't play inside. We really did go outside and play literally until dinner time or until lunch or whenever we got hungry, and then we came back home, and then if we were able to, we went right back outside. To add to that, on the weekends, my parents were always taking us either hiking or camping. During the winter, we were on the ski slopes skiing literally every single weekend. And so it really was just sort of ingrained in me from a very young age to appreciate being outside. I was able, my whole childhood, I just loved being outdoors, and that has carried through with me to adulthood. Now, when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, I was never an athlete. I did do a little bit of gymnastics when I was in elementary school. And then I remember at the end of middle school, our middle school had a weight room. And during gym class, if you didn't want to go outside and run, you could instead lift weights in the gym. I was never a good runner. It's not something that came easily to me. I felt like it was really difficult, and therefore I just didn't enjoy it. And so for 7th and 8th grade, instead of doing all of the cardio and running and track, I gravitated towards the weight room, and that's really where my love of weightlifting started. Of course, that carried through to high school, but in high school is where I really started to focus on working out for the sake of how I looked and not for the sake of necessarily nourishing my body well or treating my body respectfully, and I will get into that in just a minute. But as I graduated high school, went to college, I dated men that were also very into fitness. A lot of the men that I dated were in the military, so fitness is just sort of part of the thing with them. And so my love of working out and my love of being active was just further supported by the people that I dated and the friends that I chose to make. Again, I was still in Colorado at this point, so it's just sort of part of life in Colorado. Being active and being outside is just in your DNA. As I got out of high school and I continued to go to the gym, this is really when my relationship with the gym got very toxic, because quite literally I would spend 3, closer to 4 hours every single day, 7 days a week at the gym. I distinctly remember one of the gym managers coming up to me and asking me why I was there so often, and he tried to have a conversation with me and tell me, you're not getting any extra benefit after you've been here for an hour and a half or 2 hours. You're just not. All you're doing is wearing your body out. And of course, at 20, 21 years old, I didn't want to listen to any of that because I knew, what I was doing. I didn't need your advice, old man, And so I continued on. It was sort of a running joke between me and one of my still very good friends, Carrie. During that time, anytime that she would call me on the phone, she would say, hey, are you headed to the gym, or are you working out, or are you leaving the gym? Because literally every single time she called me, regardless of the hour of the day, it seemed like I was doing one of those 3 things. And of course, at the time, it was like a ha-ha running joke, but looking back on it, it was really, really toxic. So when I was at the gym during this time, I still hated cardio, but I was in that mindset that cardio was gonna fix all of my body image problems. It was the way that I was gonna look the way that I wanted to look. And so I called it cardio hopping, where I would spend 30 minutes on the treadmill, and then I would go to the rower and row for 30 minutes, and then I would get on the stair climber for 30 minutes. I was doing an hour and a half or 2 hours of cardio before I even touched weights, if that tells you how dysfunctional my relationship with the gym was. And honestly, it continued on this way until I met my husband. And at one point, before I met my husband, I think really at the height of my sort of toxic relationship with working out in the gym, I became friends with this girl who was just jacked. I mean, if you guys are familiar with like Dana Lynn Bailey, if you're not, I'll put a picture of her somewhere here so you guys can see. She looked like her. And Dana Lynn Bailey at that time was my like fitness idol. I wanted to look just like her. She was so strong. She could lift so much weight. I mean, unfortunately, I really idolized her. And so when I made this friend, and I can't even remember her name now, but I remember she looked just like Dana. And once I got to know her a little bit and we had done a few workouts together, she told me that she had the muscle that she did because she took anabolic steroids. So at one point, my interest in taking anabolic steroids was piqued. Praise God, I never did. I never actually made that jump. And the reason that I didn't end up taking them was because I was scared of like all the horror stories I had read about your voice dropping. If you do a deep dive on women taking anabolic steroids, it's not great. And so I read enough that it freaked me out so bad that I was like, forget it, I'm not gonna do that. But it was really at that point where I had to like check myself because my relationship had just gotten so crazy toxic and out of control. It was really bad. And so then I met my husband and I was still going to the gym, but I was in a new relationship. I really felt like he was the guy I was gonna marry. And so instead of being at the gym so much, I spent a lot of time with him, which was a very good thing for me, I can tell you. And then we had our first child together. We had Jameson, and I was still really into working out, but because of course I had a baby, I could only make it so often. And so my gym sessions were like cut in half. And then we had our second baby, Rhett, and just between, at that time I was working full-time, trying to raise a family, keep up with the house, do all of that stuff, I really was just too busy to be at the gym. And so at that point, I sort of stepped away from the gym and working out entirely. I tried to do some stuff at home, and I just really felt like I wasn't motivated, and so I just sort of put it on the back burner. So if we fast forward to about 6 months ago, at this point, I hadn't been in the gym for, a year, 2 years, and I really hadn't been concerned about what I was eating or anything like that. And I just happened to be having a conversation with a friend of mine because the past few months prior to that, I noticed that I had a significant problem with both being fatigued all the time and brain fog. Like I would be in the middle of a sentence and I would just stop and like forget what I was gonna say. I had a really hard time remembering things. Honestly, the brain fog and the memory issues were so bad that I really thought there was something like neurological going on. I got really, really scared. And so I was talking to a friend of mine. We were at my pool one day and I was saying, she's a nurse. And I was explaining to her, I'm really struggling with brain fog and fatigue. And I just don't understand, you know, I'm not crazy overweight. I don't eat really bad. I don't get it. And she mentioned that because I'm 36, almost 37, I might be going into periomenopause. Not really the answer that I wanted to hear because I thought I am too young for that. No. So I ended up doing a deep dive on periomenopause, the symptoms of fatigue, the symptoms of brain fog, what can cause it, how you can fix it, all of that type of stuff before I just accepted that periomenopause might be the issue. Because with periomenopause, often it's hormonal and it's a lot more difficult to cure or fix, if you will. As I was going down the rabbit hole on these brain fog and fatigue issues, I found, and this is where this might start to help you guys, if this is something that you struggle with as well, especially the fatigue, because a lot of people that I talked to said, well, you're just middle-aged now. It just comes with the territory. You better get used to it. I refused to accept that answer. I was going to find a way to resolve these problems. And so as I went down the rabbit hole on this, I found over and over and over people with the same issues, specifically with fatigue. They said I had the same problem with fatigue, and it was, you know, people found it to be debilitating, much in the way that I did. And they said I started to run. And they said as they started to run, they noticed that their energy levels went way up, you know, their body composition changed, their mood was elevated, they were sleeping better, all of these amazing benefits. But I came back to, I hate running, right? Because I never, you know, in high school and college, I was never a track star, anything like that. I really disliked cardio. But I thought, okay, if your option is to accept that this might be periomenopause or run to try to fix it, the answer was obvious. But I realized that I was gonna have to change my mindset around hating running. So I knew that I wanted to try running, try to fix the problem. And so I did a couple of things. And if you are somebody that hates running too, I want to share this with you because this really helped me. Because as I will tell you guys in a bit, today I run every day, 5 days a week. And it's totally changed my life. But this started as me hating running. When I started running, I realized a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to have to start slow and be okay with being slow. I'm gonna have to ease my way into running. Second, I'm gonna have to give myself some grace because it's gonna be tough. I think more mentally tough than anything, because I had just sort of accepted this idea that I hate running. And then I knew that I was going to have to figure out a way to make running more enjoyable. All the running and cardio that I did in my earlier years, I did inside on a treadmill. And so I decided that I was gonna change it up and I was gonna try to run outside. I figure it can't be any worse than running on a treadmill. People say it's actually easier to run outside. And so I committed to getting up early every single day and running. When I did this, I downloaded the Nike Run Club app. But when I first started to run 10 weeks ago, I guess now, yeah, about 10 weeks ago now, I wanted to be motivated and encouraged and sort of trained on how to run properly, because I figured that was another big problem that I had, is that I was running wrong. And let me tell you, if you're not running correctly, you're gonna hate running because you're gonna make it more difficult than it really needs to be. And so I used the Nike Run Club app and I started really slow. You know, I started to run a half a mile, and then I eased my way up to a mile, and then I eased my way up to a mile and a half, and then I eased my way up to 2 miles, and then I slowly progressed from there. When I started, I had to really make myself commit to not caring about my run time. I wasn't worried about how fast I was going. I was just concerned with getting comfortable running. And the Nike Run Club app, you can do programs with the head coach of the Nike Run Club, Chris Bennett, and he is the best motivational coach because he teaches you how to ease into running. He's really, really funny, and he's just really engaging to listen to. So I would listen to him while I was running, and I really found that to be sort of a distraction from the difficulty of running, but it also made it really enjoyable. So if you want to start running, I cannot recommend something like that enough. The Nike Run Club app, I will link it down below. I'll put the icon here so you guys know what to look for if you want to search that. Another really popular one that I've read about is Runna, R-U-N-N-A, the Runna app, but that one isn't free, and the Nike Run Club app is. So I'll link Runna down below if you want to check that out as well, because I've also heard really good things. But again, because I wasn't committed to running, I certainly didn't want to pay for an app. At the same time that I started to run, I realized a couple of things. I wanted my lifestyle to support running, to make running easier. At this point, I had read so many scientific reviews. I'd go down endless Reddit rabbit holes on this. I'd done so much research about the benefits of running, especially for women, and especially for women as we age, that I was just determined to love running because it's so good for our bodies and for our mental health. And so I knew that I wanted to change a couple of things in terms of how I ate. The biggest thing was I knew I had to cut out sugar. I've always had a sweet tooth, and I was eating, I kid you not, at least a box of Junior Mints every single day. I would have ice cream or a popsicle or something for dinner, and then all of the other sugar that just sort of found its way into my pantry. And so I really made a commitment to stop eating at least processed sugar. That's where I started. So I cut out pretty much anything that was in a box and anything that had a barcode. That was sort of my mantra. No boxes, no barcodes. And I noticed that, again, it was more of a mental game than anything else with sugar. And so instead of focusing on all of the things that I wasn't going to be able to eat, I changed my mindset to focus on all of the benefits that not eating sugar would bring me. I started to run, then I cut out sugar, then I got really serious about cleaning up my diet. So I went from eating a lot of processed foods to really valuing one ingredient whole foods. And a lot of this meant that I was making food from scratch. But I noticed that as my sugar intake decreased, I started to run, and then I was really focused on getting enough protein and eating a lot of complex carbohydrates. My brain fog completely went away. And this didn't take very long. I noticed it about 2 weeks after I started to run. I also noticed within a week, maybe less than that, that my energy levels completely leveled out. I wasn't having this issue of waking up feeling tired, having a cup of coffee, 3 hours later being tired, so I'd have more coffee. And I just noticed that my energy levels were just, it was amazing. It was like magic almost. But it really just went to prove to me that when we are focused on nourishing our bodies well and when we're active, it really can fix so many health problems that we would otherwise run to a doctor for. So when I started to run, again, I wasn't worried about my pace. I wasn't worried about how long I was running, none of that. I was just trying to get comfortable running. My pace when I first started, I looked this up before the video, I was running a 12-minute, 10-second 1 mile pace. And like I said, I'm now about 10, just over 10 weeks into running, and now my 1 mile time is usually sub 9. Usually it's about 8 minutes, 45 seconds, 8 minutes, 50 seconds, something like that. So it has improved drastically. And I keep reminding myself that I didn't do anything crazy to not only drop my 1 mile run time, but also just to cultivate this love of running. I just went into it gently and easily. I paced myself. And I think I've fallen in love with running now because the mental and physical benefits that I have gotten are just astounding. So if you don't run because you hate running, let this be a testimony that you can love to run, but you've got to change your mindset. You've got to go into it easy and give yourself a lot of grace, and you just have to give it time because running is hard. Running is still hard for me, but I have just fallen in love with it. After I started to run, the next thing that I sort of got worried about was I didn't want to lose any more muscle mass. So I decided, you know what, I need to go back to the gym. This is where I want to sort of break down for you guys what my routine looks like. Now, I do want to really heavily emphasize to you guys, I do not have a regimented routine that I stick to. And the reason that I don't have it is because, again, in my previous years, it got really, really toxic when I did that. In my late teens and my early 20s, not only was I at the gym every single day for hours on end, but I was obsessed with macro counting. So I was weighing and measuring and counting and logging every single thing that went into my body. And it was really, really, I was hyper obsessed. It's all I cared about. I didn't eat family meals because it wasn't weighed and it wasn't measured. It was very toxic. And so my approach now is much more laid back. Instead of focusing on doing everything perfectly, I'm focused on making sure that my body feels good, both with what I eat, but also how I choose to move it. So I'll give you a rough outline of what my week looks like. So I base my gym days around the days that I am not working at Target. So the days that I am at Target, which is usually 3 days a week, on those days I run, but I do not lift weights just because I just don't have time. On the days that I'm not at Target, I do run and I also lift weights. So let me give you a breakdown of what this looks like. Let's say during that week, I work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, okay? On Monday, I get up at 4:30, and I used to get up at 5, but I found that I was getting up and going for a run and coming home and getting the kids ready, and I wasn't spending time in the Word, and I wasn't, starting my day in prayer. And that's really, really important. So I started to get up at 4:30. So I get up at 4:30, I'll make a cup of coffee, do my Bible study. I'm usually out the door for a run by 5:15, 5:20. I will run until 6. I usually try to run 4 miles. Home by 6, I take a quick shower, I get the kids up for school, get them out the door, and then I head straight to the gym. Now, my days at the gym vary a little bit in terms of what body parts I'm choosing to work out that day. It depends on how many days in the week I've been able to go. But for the most part, I can make it to the gym 4 days a week. I really struggle with leaning and toning my legs out. That's just where my body tends to naturally hold the weight. And so I choose to do 2 leg days a week. So Monday is a leg day. And then on Tuesday, again, I will run my 4 miles and then I will do a split of upper body. So that will either be chest and back, or it will be biceps, triceps, and shoulders. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I work at Target, so I don't lift on those days, but I still get my 4 mile run in at least 2 of those days. Honestly, Target wears me out so much that by day 3, like Friday, I don't get up at 4:30 because I'm just tired and I want to sleep. And again, this is me trying to listen to what my body needs and not push it too far. So then on Saturdays, I will usually get up and try to do a long run. So a long run for me right now is only like 6 or 7 miles. Come home, make breakfast. I like to eat before I lift weights because if I don't, I feel very weak. And then go and do the other upper body split. So if I did back and chest on Tuesday, then I would do bicep, tricep, shoulders on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I get up and I just do an easy, 3-4 mile run, nothing crazy. And then we go to church, and then I come home from church and I try my best to get to the gym on Sundays, but it doesn't always happen. And again, I just give myself grace on the Sundays when I just want to rest. But on the days that I do make it to the gym, I will do that second leg day. So the next thing that you may be interested in is how much I lift and how much weight I use and how many reps and things like that. So I do want to dive into that. Really, it depends on what your goals are. Different types of lifting are going to give you different results. So for a while, when I first started to run, I wanted my lifting to support my running and to support more of that endurance body type. I tried lifting lighter weight for more reps because that type of lifting will usually support an endurance type body. But I found that I wasn't really being challenged enough, and I don't like doing high repetition workouts. Heavy weights are just what I love to do. I love the way that lifting really heavy weight feels. I feel so much better doing a drop set style workout than a low weight, high repetition workout. So if you're not familiar with drop set workouts, it's where you start out with a lighter weight and you do say 10 or 12 reps. And then the next set, you're gonna increase the weight. So I increase the weight for upper body by 5 pounds and I increase the weight for lower body by 10 pounds. So you increase the weight, but you decrease the repetitions. So instead of doing 10 or 12, you increase your weight and drop your sets to 8 to 10 reps. And then after that, you increase your weight again, and then you drop your reps to the 6 to 8 range, and on and on and on. And I go all the way down until I can only do 2 repetitions of whatever weight that is. The reason that I like this particular style of lifting is because I feel like my muscles are always being challenged and that I always have something to work towards, which I never felt when I did that low repetition, high weight type workout style. And I know a lot of women specifically are sort of hesitant to work out with heavier weights because they're afraid of getting bulky. But for those of you who have complimented my arms, which thank you so much, you guys are so kind, my physique is built with heavy weights. So please let me be a testament to you that if you lift heavy weights, it doesn't mean that you're going to look like a man. It just means that you're gonna have some muscle on you and you're gonna look fit and toned, which I think is what all women want. Correct me if I'm wrong. The thing about weightlifting too that I think for women is especially important is that as we age, we are so much more prone to osteoporosis, and weightlifting specifically will increase your bone density and make you less prone to osteoporosis. Not to mention it can help with metabolism and a whole host of other things that often as we age, we find that we struggle with more. So do not be afraid to lift heavy weights. It will totally transform your relationship with working out, and you will see physically, and I think you'll feel physically too, how much better it feels when you continually increase the weight that you're lifting. So that is a wrap on this workout video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.